Captain Jake Miller stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty and watched the stars through the main window. 3 years had passed since they left Earth, and now they were farther from home than any human had ever traveled. The Kepler 442 system lay ahead of them, its dying red star, casting strange shadows across space. "Captain, we have something on the sensors," said Lisa Grant from her station. She was the ship's communications officer, a young woman with sharp eyes and quick fingers that danced across her control panel. "There's a structure orbiting the star. It's big, sir. Really big." Jake walked over to her station and looked at the readings. The object was massive, easily 10 times the size of their ship. It had a smooth, curved surface that seemed to shimmer in the starlight. No human had built this thing. No human could have built it. "How long has it been there?" Jake asked. "Hard to say, Captain. The radiation from the dying star makes it difficult to get clear readings. But based on the wear patterns, I'd guess thousands of years. Maybe more." Dr. Sam Hayes looked up from his own station across the bridge. He was the ship's xenobiologist, the scientist responsible for studying any alien life they might find. His job had been boring for 3 years, but now his heart was beating fast with excitement. "Are there any life signs?" Sam asked. Lisa shook her head. "Nothing I can detect. But that doesn't mean much. This structure is made of materials we don't recognize. Our scanners might not be able to read through it." Jake made his decision quickly. They had come this far to explore and discover. He would not turn back now, just because something looked dangerous. "Prepare an away team," he ordered. "I want volunteers only. This could be risky." Sam was the first to step forward. "Going, Captain. This is what I trained for." "So am I," said Lisa. "If there are any communication signals coming from that thing, I need to be there to detect them." Dr. Alex Stone, the ship's linguist, also volunteered. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes who had spent his whole life studying languages. If they found aliens, they would need him to figure out how to talk to them. 2 security officers joined the team. Ben Carter was a tall, strong man who had served in Earth's military before joining the space program. The other was Maria Lopez, a quiet woman who was deadly accurate with any weapon. Jake trusted both of them to keep the scientists safe. The shuttle ride to the alien structure took 20 minutes. As they got closer, Sam pressed his face against the small window and stared. The structure was even more beautiful up close. Its surface was smooth like glass, but seemed to glow with its own inner light. Strange patterns moved across its hull like living things. "There's an opening," Ben said from the pilot's seat. "It looks like a docking bay." The opening was perfectly sized for their shuttle, as if the builders had known they were coming. That thought made Sam's skin crawl, but he pushed the fear away. Fear would not help them learn. They docked without problems. The alien structure system seemed to recognize their shuttle and pulled it in gently. Air pressure readings showed. The docking bay had an atmosphere they could breathe, though Alex suggested they keep their helmets on just to be safe. The team stepped out of the shuttle and into a world unlike anything any human had ever seen. The walls around them were made of the same glowing material as the hull. Soft light came from everywhere and nowhere, making it easy to see but impossible to find the source. "My readings are going crazy," Lisa said, checking her equipment. "There are energy patterns everywhere. It's like the whole structure is alive." They walked through corridors that curved and twisted in ways that hurt to think about. The builders of this place had not been bound by human ideas of geometry. Sometimes the floor became the ceiling, and sometimes walls opened into rooms that were bigger inside than they should have been. "Captain, you need to hear this," Lisa said suddenly. She had stopped walking and was holding her communication device close to her ear. "I'm picking up sounds, not radio signals. Actual sounds." Singing, Jake and the others gathered around her. Through the device, they could hear something that was almost like music. It was beautiful and sad and strange, all at the same time. The melody seemed to come from everywhere around them. "It's not coming from any speaker system," Lisa said. "Sounds are coming from the structure itself. The walls, the floor, everything is making this music." Sam felt something change in the air around them. The light grew brighter, and the singing became louder. Then he saw movement at the end of the corridor. At first, he thought it was just a trick of the light. But as he watched, the air itself seemed to thicken and take shape. Something was forming in front of them, something made of pure energy and light. The being that appeared was unlike anything Sam had imagined. It had no solid body, but he could see the shape of what might have been a woman.
Oh.
She was tall and graceful, with long flowing hair that moved like it was underwater. Her skin glowed with the same soft light as the walls around them. She turned toward them, and Sam felt his breath catch in his throat. Her face was perfect in a way that no human face could be. Her eyes were like stars, bright and ancient, and full of intelligence. When she looked at him, he felt like she could see into his soul. "She is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen," Sam whispered into his helmet microphone, not realizing that his words were being broadcast to the entire team and back to the Liberty. The being heard him. She tilted her head and took a step forward. Her lips moved and the singing around them changed, becoming something that sounded almost like words. She was trying to speak to them. Sam reached out his hand toward her, forgetting everything else. The being reached back, and for a moment their fingers almost touched. Then she faded away like smoke, leaving only the echo of her song in the empty corridor. Back on the Liberty, Lisa Grant sat in her communications lab, surrounded by screens and equipment. She had been working for 12 hours straight, trying to make sense of the sounds they had recorded from the alien structure.
Oh.
The singing they had heard was unlike anything in human experience. But Lisa was determined to crack its secrets. Dr. Alex Stone sat across from her, his gray hair messy from running his hands through it. He had studied every human language and many animal communication systems, but this was completely different. The sounds seemed to have layers within layers, meanings hidden inside other meanings. "Play it again," Alex said, rubbing his tired eyes. Lisa pressed a button, and the alien song filled the room. It was beautiful and haunting, but also frustrating. Every time they thought they found a pattern, it would change and become something else entirely. "There," Alex said suddenly, pointing at one of Lisa's screens. "Did you see that spike in the frequency readings? Play that section back." Lisa rewound the recording and played it again. This time they both saw it clearly. The singing reached certain notes. The energy readings from their equipment jumped dramatically. The aliens were not just making sounds. They were doing something to the space around them. "It's like they're painting with sound," Lisa said. "Each note changes the energy in the room." "Or maybe," Alex said slowly, "the energy changes are the real communication. The sounds we hear are just a side effect." This idea excited Lisa. She pulled up new analysis programs and began breaking down the recording in different ways. Instead of looking at the sounds as music, she started treating them as data patterns. Hours passed. The other crew members brought them food, but Lisa and Alex barely noticed. They were too focused on their work. Finally, Lisa made a breakthrough. "Alex, look at this," she said, pointing to a complex wave pattern on her screen. "These aren't random sounds. They're mathematical equations. Beautiful, complex equations that describe the movement of energy through space." Alex leaned forward and studied the pattern. "So when they sing, they're actually calculating, thinking out loud in mathematics." "More than that," Lisa said, her excitement growing. "I think they're creating reality with their songs. Watch this." She played a section of the recording while monitoring the ship's sensors. As the alien song played, the sensors detected tiny changes in the space around them. Gravity fluctuated slightly. Light bent in impossible ways. The temperature changed by fractions of a degree. "They're not just singing about physics," Lisa whispered. "They're actually changing physics with their voices." Meanwhile, Sam Hayes had returned to the alien structure 3 more times. Each visit, the energy being appeared more clearly and stayed longer. He had started calling her Nova, though he did not know if she had a real name. She seemed curious about him, tilting her head when he spoke and moving closer each time. On his 4th visit, Sam brought a small music player with him. He played classical music from Earth, watching Nova's reaction. Her eyes grew wide with wonder, and she began to glow brighter. When the music stopped, she tried to copy the melodies with her own voice, but Nova's version was different. When she sang the human songs, the air around them shimmered and changed colors. Flowers made of light bloomed on the walls and then faded away. It was as if she could not help but make her music into something physical and real. You create things. When you sing, Sam said to her. Even though he knew she probably could not understand his words, Nova looked at him and made a sound that was almost like laughter. Then she began to sing again, but this time her song was simpler. As she sang, shapes appeared in the air between them. First a circle, then a square, then more complex forms. She was trying to teach him her language through pictures, Sam understood. He pulled out his tablet computer and began drawing simple shapes on the screen. A house.
Oh.
A tree. A person. Nova watched with great interest, and then she began creating her own versions of his drawings with her light. But Nova's house was made of flowing energy that moved like water. Her tree had leaves that sparkled like stars. Her person glowed with inner fire and could change shape at will. She was showing him how her people saw the world. Back on the Liberty, Lisa had made another discovery. She had been monitoring Sam's visits to the alien structure, and she noticed that Nova's appearances were getting stronger each time. The energy being was learning to exist in their dimension for longer periods. She's adapting to us, Lisa told Captain Miller. Or maybe we're adapting to her. The more time Sam spends with her, the more solid she becomes. Is that dangerous? Miller asked. I don't know, Lisa admitted. But I think it means they want to communicate with us as much as we want to communicate with them. Alex had been studying the mathematical patterns in Nova's songs, and he had found something disturbing. Hidden in the beautiful equations were expressions of deep loneliness and sadness. The aliens were not just advanced beings living in their energy forms. They were prisoners of their own evolution. I think they used to have physical bodies like us, Alex explained to the senior staff. But something happened. Maybe their sons started dying, or maybe there was some other disaster. They converted themselves into pure energy to survive. That sounds like a good solution, said Ben Carter. Maybe, Alex said. But imagine being the only person left alive on Earth, and you can never touch anything or anyone again. And hear, but you can never feel. And that's what I think happened to them. They saved their lives, but lost everything that made life worth living. This revelation changed how the crew thought about Nova and her people. They were not gods or monsters. They were survivors who had been alone for thousands of years. Slowly going mad from isolation, Lisa worked even harder on the translation project. If the aliens were truly lonely, then communication was not just about science. It was about compassion. She had the tools to build a bridge between two species, and she was determined to succeed. Late that night, as Lisa worked alone in her lab, she heard something that made her heart race. Very faintly, coming through her communication equipment, she could hear Nova's voice. But this time, the alien was not on her structure. She was here, on the Liberty, somehow reaching across space, to touch their ship with her song. Captain Jake Miller stood in the main conference room of the Liberty, facing the most important decision of his career. On the table in front of him lay orders from Earth Command. The message was clear: return home immediately. But across from him sat his senior staff, and on the main screen was Nova herself, now able to maintain her form for hours at a time. Captain Miller, Nova said, her voice coming through the translation system Lisa had finally perfected.
Ow.
My people wish to speak with you about our history. We've been alone for so long that we had forgotten what hope felt like. Jake looked at the orders again. Earth's command was worried about the time they had spent in the Kepler system. Resources were running low, and there were concerns about the crew's safety. But Jake had not come this far to give up when they were on the edge of the greatest discovery in human history. Tell me about your people, Jake said, pushing the orders aside. Nova's image grew brighter, and her voice took on a tone that Lisa's computers translated as deep sadness mixed with pride. We were called the Kethfer in your language. We ruled 47 star systems and lived on thousands of worlds. We built cities that floated in space and machines that could create new suns. We thought we were masters of the universe. She paused, and the air around her seemed to shimmer with memory. But we were young and foolish. We fought wars over resources we did not need. We poisoned our worlds with weapons we could not control. Our sun began to die, we were not ready. Most of our people had already destroyed themselves in endless conflicts. How many of you survived? Jake asked. 312, Nova said. We found a way to convert our bodies into pure energy, but the process was dangerous. Many died in the transformation. Others went mad when they realized what they had lost. Alex Stone leaned forward. What did you lose? Everything that made us truly alive, Nova replied. We can think and remember and feel emotions, but we cannot touch. We cannot taste food or feel the warmth of sunlight on our skin. We cannot create new life. We are immortal, but we are also dead. The room fell silent as the humans absorbed this information. Lisa was the first to speak. How long have you been alone? 12,000 of your years, Nova said. We have watched civilizations rise and fall across the galaxy. We have seen species discover faster than light travel and spread to the stars. But none of them could see us clearly until you came. Sam Hayes, who had been quiet during the conversation, finally spoke up. Why us? What makes humans different? Nova turned to look at him, and her expression became something that the translation system identified as wonder. Your species has something we had lost long before our transformation. You have what you call imagination. You can see possibilities that do not yet exist. When you look at us, you do not see monsters or gods. You see people who are in pain and need help. What do you want from us? Jake asked. Friendship, Nova said simply. We want to remember what it feels like to not be alone. We want to share our knowledge with you and learn about your culture. We want to help you explore the galaxy and avoid the mistakes we made. Jake made his decision. I'm extending our mission. We'll stay in the Kepler system for another 6 months. Sir, said Ben Carter, Earth Command won't like that. Command isn't here, Jake replied. I am. And I'm not going to abandon potential allies because of paperwork. Over the following weeks, the Liberty became a bridge between two civilizations. The crew shared human art, music, literature, and history with Nova and her people. In return, the Kethver shared their vast knowledge of the galaxy. They told the humans about other intelligent species scattered across the stars. Some were peaceful, traders who would welcome contact with Earth. Others were aggressive empires that saw new species as either slaves or threats. The Kethver had been watching these civilizations for thousands of years, learning their strengths and weaknesses. Is a species called the Vorthan Alliance, Nova explained during one of their daily meetings. They control 78 star systems and have been expanding for centuries. They will reach your solar system within 300 years if they continue their current path. Are they dangerous? Jake asked. Very, Nova said. They believe that only the strongest species deserve to survive. They have destroyed 46 civilizations that they considered weak. This information worried Jake, but Nova had more to share. There are also the Peaceful Rings, a group of 12 species that have formed a mutual defense agreement. They help each other develop technology and protect smaller civilizations from aggressors like the Vorthan. Would they accept humans as members? Lisa asked. If you prove worthy, Nova said. But the process takes time. You would need to demonstrate that your species can control its aggressive impulses and work for the common good. As the cultural exchange continued, Sam noticed changes in Nova herself. She was becoming more solid, more present in their dimension. Her energy form was learning to interact with physical matter in new ways. She could now touch objects for brief moments, and her voice no longer needed the translation system to be understood. You're becoming more like us, Sam observed during one of their private conversations. And you are becoming more like us, Nova replied. I can see energy patterns around you now that were not there before. Your exposure to our people is changing you in small ways. This revelation concerned the medical staff, but Dr. Stone found no negative effects in Sam's regular checkups. If anything, Sam seemed healthier and more alert than before. The crew also noticed that their own technology was improving. Lisa's communication systems were becoming more sensitive, able to detect signals from incredible distances. The ships. Computers were processing information faster than ever before. Even the engines seemed to run more efficiently. They're sharing their knowledge with us just by being near us, Lisa explained to Jake. It's like their very presence is upgrading our technology. But the most significant change was in the crew's understanding of their place in the galaxy. They were no longer alone, but they were also no longer safe. The universe was full of wonders and dangers they had never imagined. As their extended mission continued, Jake knew that when they returned to Earth, they would bring back more than just scientific data. They would bring back a new understanding of what it meant to be human in a galaxy full of other intelligent life. Sam Hayes walked through the corridors of the alien structure with Nova beside him. She no longer flickered like a candle in the wind. Her energy form had grown solid enough that he could see her reflection in the smooth walls. When she moved, her feet made soft sounds against the floor, though Sam was not sure if the sounds were real or if his mind was creating them. "Your people are changing us," Sam said as they entered a vast chamber filled with floating lights. "Lisa's equipment is picking up signals from across the galaxy now. Ben's reaction time has improved by 30%. Even our computers are working faster." Nova nodded, her starlight hair flowing around her shoulders. "This is expected. When two species share consciousness space for extended periods, both are affected. We are changing too, Sam. I can feel textures now. Yesterday I touched a flower that Lisa brought from your ship, and I could feel its softness." They stopped in the center of the chamber, surrounded by the floating lights that Nova had explained were memory crystals. Each one contained the experiences of her people from before their transformation. Sam had asked to see them, and Nova had agreed to share one with him. "Are you certain you want to do this?" Nova asked. "Memory sharing can be overwhelming for someone who has never experienced it. You will see and feel everything I saw and felt." During that time, Sam nodded. "I need to understand. If our species are going to be allies, I need to know who you really were." Nova smiled, and the expression looked almost human now. She reached out and placed her hand on Sam's forehead. The moment her energy touched his skin, Sam's vision exploded with color and sensation. He was standing on a world with two purple suns, looking out over a city that stretched to the horizon. The buildings were made of the same flowing material as the structure, but they pulsed with life and movement. Vehicles that looked like living creatures flew between the towers, carrying passengers who looked like Nova, but with solid bodies. The Kethfar in their original forms were beautiful. They had Nova's graceful features, but with skin that changed color based on their emotions. Their eyes held the same intelligence Sam had seen in Nova, but also a warmth and joy that came from being fully alive. Sam felt himself moving through Nova's memories as if he were living them himself. He attended gatherings where thousands of Kethfar sang together, their voices creating visible patterns in the air that told stories of love and adventure. He walked through laboratories where scientists worked to unlock the secrets of the universe. He stood in council chambers where leaders debated how to use their power responsibly. But then the memories grew darker. Sam experienced the First War. Between Kethfar colonies, overmining rights on a distant asteroid, he felt Nova's horror as she watched her people create weapons that could destroy entire planets. He lived through the decades of conflict that followed. As the Kethfar turned their incredible technology against each other, the worst memory came near the end. Sam found himself in an underground bunker as Nova and the other survivors prepared for the transformation that would save their lives but cost them their humanity. He felt her terror and her grief as she said goodbye to her physical body forever. When the vision ended, Sam was sitting on the floor of the chamber with tears streaming down his face. Nova knelt beside him, her hand on his shoulder, providing comfort that felt completely real. "Now you understand," she said softly. "We were not always wise. We had everything your species dreams of having, and we threw it away because we could not control our worst impulses." Sam looked up at her. "But you survived. You found a way to keep going even when everything seemed hopeless. Survival is not the same as living," Nova replied. "For 12,000 years we have existed but not truly lived. We watch other species make the same mistakes we made, but we cannot help them because they cannot see us. Until now, Sam said. Until now. Nova agreed. Your species gives us hope, Sam. You have the same curiosity and drive that we once had, but you also have something we lost. Have the ability to care about others more than yourselves. When you first saw me, you did not try to capture me, or study me like a specimen. You simply thought I was beautiful. Over the following days, Sam spent more time in the memory chambers with Nova. Each shared experience brought them closer together and helped him understand the vast scope of Kethver. Civilization. They had been explorers and artists, scientists and dreamers. Their technology was so advanced that it seemed like magic, but it had not saved them from their own destructive nature. Meanwhile, the rest of the crew noticed changes in Sam. He moved differently now, with a grace that reminded them of Nova. His eyes seemed to hold depths that had not been there before. When he spoke about the aliens, his voice carried emotions that were not entirely human. He's becoming like them, Maria Lopez said to Ben Carter as they watched Sam in the ship's dining hall. Look at the way he holds his head. Listen to how he talks. It's like he's part alien now. Ben nodded with concern. Should we tell the captain? Before Maria could answer, Sam approached their table. His smile was warm and friendly, but there was something different about it. Something that reminded them of the way Nova smiled. I know you're worried about me, Sam said, sitting down across. From them, I can see it in your energy patterns. Our what? Maria asked. Energy patterns? Sam repeated, then paused as if realizing he had said something strange. I mean, I can tell from your expressions that you're concerned. The memory, sharing with Nova, has given me new ways of perceiving things. Is it safe? Ben asked directly. Sam considered the question carefully. I don't know. But I do know that I understand the universe better now than I ever did before. I can see connections between things that I never noticed. I can feel the life force that flows through all living beings. That evening, Sam met with Captain Miller and Dr. Stone to discuss what was happening to him. The medical scans showed unusual brain activity, but nothing that seemed harmful. I feel more like myself than I ever have, Sam explained. Nova's people don't just share memories, they share understanding. I know things now that no human has ever known. What kind of things? Jake asked. Sam smiled with Nova's grace. Know that our species has a chance to become something greater than either of us could be alone, but only if we're willing to change and grow together. The message from Earth Command arrived during the night shift when only a skeleton crew was awake. Lisa Grant was monitoring communications when her console erupted with urgent signals. The transmission was marked as Priority Alpha, the highest level of importance that Earth Command could send. Lisa woke Captain Miller immediately. Within minutes, the senior staff had gathered in the conference room to hear the message. Admiral Susan Brooks appeared on the main screen, her face stern and worried. Captain Miller, you are ordered to return to Earth immediately. Long-range sensors have detected alien spacecraft moving toward human space. We believe other species have learned about your contact with the energy beings, and they are treating it as a threat. You have 48 hours to begin your journey home. The message continued with technical details about the approaching ships, but Jake's mind was already racing. The alien visitors were from something called the Hegemony Collective, a group of species that monitored galactic communications for signs of new civilizations making contact. They're not coming to welcome us, Admiral Brooks continued. Intelligence suggests they eliminate new species that they consider potentially dangerous. Your extended stay in the Kepler system has been detected, and they're investigating. When the message ended, the room fell silent. Ben Carter was the first to speak. How long until these hegemony ships reach us? Based on the data Earth sent, maybe 6 weeks, Lisa said after checking her calculations. But that assumes they're traveling at normal faster-than-light speeds. Jake felt the weight of command pressing down on him. His decision to extend their mission had put not just his crew in danger, but possibly all of humanity. Yet leaving now meant abandoning Nova and her people, who had become more than just scientific subjects. They had become friends. We need to discuss this with Nova, Jake decided. She knows more about galactic politics than we do. They found Nova in her usual meeting chamber, but she was not alone. 3 other energy beings floated beside her, their forms less solid than hers. But clearly present, Nova introduced them as the Council of Survivors, the leaders of her people. "We know about the hegemony," said one of the council members, whose voice sounded ancient even through the translation system. "They have been expanding their control for 3,000 years. They claim to maintain galactic peace, but in truth, they prevent younger species from reaching their full potential. Can you help us fight them?" Jake asked. "In our current form, we are limited," Nova replied. "We can share information and provide guidance, but we cannot physically defend your ships or your world." The oldest council member moved forward. "However, there is another option. We possess technology that could revolutionize human space travel and communication. With our help, your species could advance centuries in just a few years." Lisa leaned forward eagerly. "What kind of technology?" "Instantaneous communication across any distance," Nova explained. "Faster than light travel that does not require years of journey time. Energy shields that could protect your planets." "There is a cost." "What cost?" Jake asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. "The technology requires a living consciousness to serve as a conduit," the council member explained. "Someone must volunteer to undergo partial energy conversion, becoming a bridge between our species and yours." Sam Hayes, who had been quiet during the conversation, suddenly spoke up. "I'll do it." "Sam, no," said Alex Stone. "We don't know what that would do to you." "I know exactly what it would do," Sam replied calmly. "I've shared Nova's memories. I understand the process better than anyone else here." Nova turned to Sam with an expression of concern and affection. "The conversion is dangerous, Sam. Many of our people died during their transformations. And even if you survive, you will no longer be fully human." "But I won't be fully Kethfer either," Sam said. "I'll be something new, something that can exist in both worlds." Captain Miller stood up. "I won't order anyone to undergo an experimental procedure that could kill them." "You're not ordering me," Sam said. "I'm volunteering." "This is why we came out here, isn't it? To make contact with alien species and advance human knowledge. Sometimes advancement requires sacrifice." Lisa had been working on her portable computer. While they talked, "It might be another way," she said suddenly. "Nova, your people can manipulate energy and matter with your songs, right?" "Yes," Nova replied. "And you've been getting more solid, more able to interact with our physical world." "That is correct." Lisa's eyes lit up with excitement. "Dot. What if instead of Sam becoming more like you, you became more like us? Could you take on a physical form? Permanently?" The council members looked at each other with expressions that conveyed shock and hope in equal measure. "The process would be extremely difficult," the oldest one said. "We have never attempted to reverse our energy conversion, but it's possible?" Jake asked. "Theoretically," Nova said slowly. "But it would be even more dangerous than Sam's proposal. I could die in the attempt, and even if I survive, I would lose my immortality. I would become mortal like you." "You would also gain everything you've lost," Sam pointed out. "The ability to truly touch and feel, the chance to create new life, the experience of being fully alive again." Nova was quiet for a long moment, her energy form flickering as she considered the possibilities. "If I became physical, I could serve. As an ambassador between our species, I could travel to Earth and help your people prepare for the challenges ahead." "And if the process fails?" Alex asked. "Then I die as I lived," Nova replied with dignity, fighting for something I believe. The debate continued for hours, but in the end, two decisions were made. Nova would attempt to take on permanent physical form, while Sam would undergo partial energy conversion to serve as a backup communication system. Together, they would create a bridge between species that had never existed before. "When do we begin?" Nova asked. "Tomorrow," Jake said. "But we don't have time to waste. The hegemony ships are getting closer, and Earth needs to know what's coming." As the meeting broke up, Sam and Nova walked together toward the transformation chambers deep in the alien structure. Both knew they might not survive the process, but both also knew that some risks were worth taking for the chance to change the galaxy forever. The transformation chamber deep inside the alien structure hummed with energy that made the air itself feel alive. Sam Hayes stood on one side of the circular room, while Nova floated in the center, surrounded by her people.
All the other Catfur
Had gathered to witness something that had never been attempted before. Dr. Alex. Stone monitored both processes from his medical equipment, while Lisa Grant tracked the energy readings. Captain Miller and the rest of the crew watched from a safe distance, knowing that if something went wrong, they might lose both Sam and Nova in a single moment. "Are you ready?" Nova asked Sam, her voice carrying both excitement and fear. Sam nodded. "I've been ready since the first moment I saw you." The oldest council member began to sing. Immediately the chamber filled with harmonies that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The walls glowed brighter, and patterns of light began moving across the floor, towards Sam and Nova. Nova closed her eyes and began her own song. But this one was different from any they had heard before. Instead of creating energy, she was calling. It backed into herself, compressing her scattered consciousness into a smaller and smaller space. Her form grew brighter and more solid with each note. At the same time, Sam felt the energy patterns reaching him. They climbed up his legs like warm water, flowing through his body and changing him at the deepest level. He could feel his human consciousness expanding, touching thoughts and sensations that no human had ever experienced. The process was not painful, but it was overwhelming. Sam felt his awareness stretching across space, able to sense the thoughts of every Kethfer in the structure, could feel Nova's struggle as she fought to compress her energy into physical form, could sense the worry of his crewmates watching from outside the chamber. Nova's transformation was more dramatic. Energy form began to collapse inward, becoming smaller and denser. Light poured off her like water as she forced herself to become solid. Her face twisted with effort and pain as immortal energy tried to squeeze itself into mortal flesh. "Something's wrong," Alex shouted over the singing. Her energy readings are spiking beyond safe levels, but Nova did not stop. She continued her song, even as her form flickered between energy and matter. Sam could feel her determination through their growing connection. She would succeed or die trying. Then Sam made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. Instead of just receiving energy from the Kethfer, he began giving some of his own human consciousness to Nova. Through their shared bond, he offered her his memories of what it felt like to have a physical body. The sensation of breathing air into lungs. The feeling of a heartbeat in his chest. It's a simple pleasure of touching something soft with fingertips. Sam shared all of it with Nova, giving her a template to follow as she built her new form. The change in the chamber was immediate. Nova's transformation became smoother, more controlled. Her energy form solidified into flesh and bone, guided by Sam's human memories. At the same time, Sam felt his own consciousness expanding to bridge the gap between species. When the singing finally stopped, Nova collapsed to the floor of the chamber. But she was no longer made of energy. She had become human in form, though. Her eyes still held the depth of stars. She drew her first breath in 12,000 years and began to cry. Sam knelt beside her, his own transformation complete. He could still see energy patterns around every living thing. He could communicate directly with the other Kethfer, through thought alone. But he was still fundamentally human, still himself. "Did it work?" Nova whispered, her voice coming from a throat made of flesh instead of energy. "Look for yourself," Sam said, helping her to her feet. Nova held up her hand and stared at it in wonder. She could see the lines on her palm, feel the blood flowing through her veins. When Sam took her hand in his, she could feel the warmth of his skin and the gentle pressure of his fingers. "I can touch you," she said in amazement. "I can actually touch you." The crew rushed into the chamber to check on them. Dr. Stone ran medical scans on both Sam and Nova, amazed by what he found. Nova's body was completely human, but her cells contained traces of energy that allowed her to access some of her former abilities. Sam remained human as well, but his brain showed new neural pathways that connected him to the Kethfer collective consciousness. "How do you feel?" Lisa asked Nova. Heavy Nova replied with a laugh, but wonderful. I had forgotten what it was. Like to feel my own weight, to feel the air moving in and out of my lungs. Over the next few hours, they tested the new connection between Sam and Nova. They could communicate instantly across any distance. even when Sam was back on the Liberty, and Nova remained on her structure. More importantly, they could serve as translators between their species, making communication faster and clearer than ever before. The timing was perfect. 3 days later, the hegemony ships arrived in the Kepler system. But instead of finding a primitive human expedition, they discovered something that surprised them completely. The Liberty met the alien ships with Nova aboard as an official ambassador. When the hegemony commanders demanded to know why humans were interfering with ancient energy beings, Nova explained that the Kethvar had chosen to ally with humanity voluntarily. The presence of a transformed energy being, combined with the advanced technology that the Alliance had already produced, forced the hegemony to reconsider their approach. They could not simply eliminate the humans without also confronting the Kethvar, who possessed knowledge and abilities that even the hegemony respected. After tense negotiations, hegemony agreed to grant humanity provisional membership in Galactic Society, with the Kethvar serving as sponsors and guides. It was not the welcome humanity had hoped for, but it was better than destruction. The Liberty returned to Earth 6 months later, carrying Nova and the promise of a new age for humanity. Sam remained changed but human, serving as the permanent link between species. Nova adapted to life in a physical body, becoming the first alien ambassador to Earth. On the day they arrived home, Sam and Nova stood together on the observation deck of the Liberty, watching Earth grow larger on the screen. Marveled at the blue and white planet that had produced such remarkable people. "She is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen," Nova whispered. Echoing Sam's words from their first meeting, Sam smiled and took her hand, feeling the warmth of her skin and the steady beat of her heart. "You're still the most beautiful thing I've ever seen," he replied. They had crossed the impossible gap between energy and matter, between species separated by evolution and time. Together, they had created something new, something that would help both their peoples reach for the stars.